was here for Ellie Feingold earlier today? A handful of people? Oh, there he is. So, acceleration. I run an accelerator, right? But some days, you know, it's like, how do you go faster than fast? Well, faster than fast is how fast the industry is changing. The tools are changing. You know, a product launches, makes, you know, does their press push. You see you see all kinds of press come out about it, and then gosh, 5 years later, is anybody even using it anymore? Raise your hand right now if you use a BlackBerry. Nobody, right? So tech tools, you know, how do you stay on top of it? Well, increasingly, it's easier to start using new tools. You don't have to go make big investments. They're cloud services, they're monthly fees, some are free, and so we have 4 panelists up here, and myself. So I'm John Backus. I founded the Motive Accelerator in Dallas. So what is an accelerator? What is Motive? Well, we invest in early stage real estate technology companies that are focused on problems inherent in the real estate industry, the built environment, and we take them through an intensive 3-month program where we introduce those companies to some of the top mentors, investors, strategic customers, and other successful founders in the industry. So I'm going to kind of do a plug here where at 5 we're going to have some great food and drink, and then at 6 our program is going to start. So I hope that, I know it's been a long day, but I hope you can stay for that. So we have 4 people on our panel today, and starting here. Wes Snow with Ascendix. Wes, if you want to just introduce yourself really quickly.
Yep. Good afternoon again. Wes Snow with Ascendix, founder, CEO. We've been in business for 20 years, the last 10 of which have been focused in the commercial real estate space, specifically around technologies that are offered by Microsoft and Salesforce.com. The traditional company and contact management data sets that we're all familiar with, that we use Outlook address books on, perhaps ACT, Aries for ACT, things of that nature, and then expanding that in with property, listing, lease, availability data, all in one particular database.
My name is John Cona. I'm the CEO and founder of F9 Analytics. I've been in this particular business, or the niche of financial analytics in the commercial real estate industry since I graduated college, through being an analyst and working my way up to being an investment officer. We saw a lot of stuff, or a lot of problems, and so we tried to solve most of them just on the leasing side first, and then possibly next with some investor help to go after the investment side.
My name is Heather Schwarz again. I'm one of the co-founders of EarlyShares and Property.com. And pretty much what we're doing is leveraging new securities regulations and technology, why we're all here, to make capital raising and investing a lot more efficient, transparent, and data-driven within commercial real estate sector. So if you look at sponsors, if you look at companies that have been raising money historically, they've done so through private placements. And you've had to be very quiet about raising that capital. You could not go out to a public show like this and say, I am raising money for my deal or for my property or for my company. Now with new regulations that came out through the Jobs Act, you can go ahead without registering your offering with or your securities with the SEC. You can go ahead and use every method of advertising and marketing to raise capital to new investors for your deal. There is a lot of power in that, but you can't do that alone, so you need technology. So we have built an end-to-end technology investment engine that enables the capital raising process, that really makes it very efficient, very seamless. It also provides a platform and a marketplace for investors that are looking to tap into cash flow, that are looking to tap into appreciations, and participate at smaller levels into individual properties that are providing them an alternative source to commercial real estate. So if you, as an investor, if you wanted to invest in commercial real estate deal, you had a few options. You could do it through a mutual fund, an ETF, or you buy the whole property, which is very capital intensive. Now you can do it on an individual basis with as little as $5,000. With our platform, other platforms as little as $1,000.
Fantastic. And Stephen, the man who needs no introduction.
Yeah, Stephen Hopkins, co-founder DisruptCRE. We all know what we do because you're all here, and we really appreciate you coming. I know the right people to get myself on this panel. I'm very excited because, you know, as for all of you out there, we have these great tools such as the ones that they just discussed that all of you should be taking advantage of some form or another, and I can't wait to talk about more of them and get more in depth.
All right. Well, just opening question. So, Wes, why is it important for real estate companies, commercial real estate companies, to be looking at adopting new tools right now?
I think the technologies have evolved and matured to a state where they're squeezing all the inefficiencies out of processes. And if you show up at a client or an investor's doorstep and you aren't leveraging these technologies and still, you know, just really dragged down by the inefficient manual processes that exist today, you're going to lose. And so CRM, mobility, all these things are very ubiquitous. And if you're not competing on a level, you're going to a gunfight with a knife. It's just not fair.
And John, what do you think?
Yeah, I think similar to what Wes has said, it has to get better. Obviously the process, it has to be more efficient. Especially the price that assets are today, there's just not room for margins of error. So for us, back of the envelope calculations, if you wonder why a lease, doesn't get done or it goes back and forth, you need to improve upon so those margins of error are removed in such a way that you can, through technology, figure out exactly and precisely what makes sense or how to make the deal make sense.
So just a question for you, because you're really hitting on a different maybe segment of the market, which is on the investment side, and so on the who are the early adopters? Who are the people who are really? And this is a question I ask myself: who's doing real estate crowdfunding? Who are these people? And give like a case study. Who not just they're putting their buildings on the market, but they're actually putting their cash into real estate online.
So when I got into this 4 years ago, I was working at Wells Fargo. I had a fantastic job in private banking. And when I told my friends, my coworkers, and my family that I was leaving to run a crowdfunding company, they're like, what the heck are you doing? What's wrong with you? And now when I talk out publicly about crowdfunding, everybody thinks that's like the coolest new thing. And all it is taking the traditional syndication model, the way that real estate has been capitalized for decades, and just adding technology and creating the centralized access point. But going to a case study, it is difficult in terms of adoption, because this type of activity is done very traditionally. It's done on a relationship basis. It's done in an old school model, and we're completely changing the behavior. So really what we say is that we've created this new technology, and we've got new online mechanisms of facilitating capital, but we're also bridging the way in some of the aspects that that these investments have happened before. So our platform doesn't replace having a basic conversation and just getting the opportunity to meet somebody if an investor chooses to meet somebody that's raising capital on the platform, or if they choose to go visit the property. But to give you a very specific example, one of our first offerings was raised by Jack Glotman of the Sagalo Companies in Miami, Florida. Retail guy, third generation company, has always gone out to his network of friends and family, and we've been in a great real estate market, a great cycle, and he's been able to capitalize on some opportunities and wanted to broaden and expand his network. So he put a couple deals on the platform, and he was able to raise a little under $2 million between those two deals. And what's interesting from a psychological perspective and just the dynamic to see how this has shifted, that investors were very weary and were putting their toe in, just investing $20,000, $25,000, which is relatively small. Now, his second deal, the investment dollars have gone up. Now investors are waiting for his next deal. They're calling and asking, when is the next Saglo deal coming? So that deal is pretty much pre-funded. So it's a completely different dynamic, and it comes down to these sponsors being able to capitalize on transparent, online transaction success and fundraising history, and getting investors comfortable with that.
Stephen, this is all changing really quickly, and you're a global view guy. So how have the dynamics shifted in real estate tech? In the tools that seem to be getting the most interest, say, dial back beginning of this year, and the draw there versus the, everybody knows about this tool, and it's just not as it's much more mature now.
Sure. Well, I quickly want to answer your first question because
go for it.
It's really important, right? So, commercial real estate, like a lot of other industries, is very cyclical. Right now, we're in a great time. Brokers, owners, managers, properties are selling for record highs. Leases, people are filling up space. So the question is why? Why do this stuff right now? We're very successful, and it's very hard to adopt new things when you have success. I know that personally from all kinds of different things. So the really, really important thing is to recognize, again, because this is a cyclical business, we are going to have a downturn at some time. So the reason why to invest in learning about different products like the ones that are up here now and adopting them now is really important, not because now for your success, which you're already doing well, it's for inevitably when that downturn happens. So I think it's really, really important to start, and this is why you are all here, and I congratulate you as early adopters to be here looking at these and be talking to these folks about, if you're not already using some of these tools like a CRM. Everybody needs to have their data, their context into a CRM, right? If anything else, like the second thing I wanted to talk about, also I heard it earlier on a different panel a couple times, is the millennial group, right? The millennial group for the first time recently is the largest group population-wise and has just surpassed the baby boomers. We are also, because I'm one of them on the front end, we are also now making decisions, right? So we're used to having cell phones in our hands. We're mobile. Right? We have new spaces. We're not looking in, a lot of people grew up wanting that corner office. They were going to work hard to get that corner office. Now that corner office is gone, right? We just came back from CBRE's Office Space of the Future, and we were just talking about them, and they have completely in LA got rid of all of those offices. So the people who are working there saying, hey, I can't wait, I'm working really hard to get that corner office. Now the new expectation is you're working from home. I was thinking if you saw Ellie's presentation when he was putting that together, you're working from home, you're working from your office, you're working from your car, you're working from the train, the plane, all kinds of different places. So that's why, again, the why, it's because of all of those things I think it's important. To your question, on the global view, I think it's, we've seen, when we first started doing this only a year ago, gosh, I would say, notoriety, companies that had notoriety, people knew about, there was probably in commercial real estate tech, maybe 15 to 20 of them. We have a list of over 200 to 300 real commercial real estate technology companies spanning, all different types of classes, leasing, collecting data and management, John and what he does with leasing and updating information on the fly. It's critically important as you're going back and forth. So I think that, it's a really great time to be in this space because you have all these new tools and people, very smart people who have a lot of times been in the business, right? So they're coming from the business. They saw that there was a problem. They went out and they're solving it. Or you have really smart people coming in from other industries that are building these tools for all of you guys now. And I think that that's really exciting.
Great. So, Wes, back to you. So the real estate industry is built around relationships. So why is it critical that professionals and companies be using a CRM to manage those relationships?
There's just an abundance of data out there freely available, and if you're not doing a good job of managing it, you're just going to be at the disadvantage I spoke of earlier. Great analogy I thought of this morning I've got a couple of kids that have just been doing book reports, and the way in which they assemble all of the material, it's light years ahead of how I would go to the library, pull out the index card file, perhaps visit an encyclopedia. When's the last time we've done that? 3 or 4 weeks later, I've got something that resembles a book report, research project. Now my kids, 2 hours later, they're doing something and putting output there that's far greater than I ever could. You know, imagine that same concept there, analogous to someone who's got a CRM system versus someone who does not. It's all about relationships and being able to reflect back on what's been said by whom and when, deals married to those conversations, and having the ability to access that not only behind your desktop, but mobile, iPad, iPhone, and so forth, versus the individual who's got to go back into their inbox. And we're all guilty if we don't have CRM doing a sort by sender and figuring out what our relationship strength is just based on past emails that have been received. And so it's a completely different way of operating. The efficiencies are heightened and they're expected from the marketplace.
So John, why is it critical that a professional today be using particularly mobile tools and web-based analysis tools?
Well, I think the deficiency I at least saw or tried to, the pain point that I tried to attack, first of all, was, well, first, the smallest piece of the investment is the lease. Portfolio of leases makes up a property value. So if you get one wrong, the rest of it falls apart. So for us, it was just essentially saying we're trying to get to a Bloomberg type format for leasing professionals, highly mobile, access from anywhere, lightning fast, and precision analytics to, just like Bloomberg is for the financial markets, bond markets, so forth. But specifically, just start at leasing, because that's the beginning, that's the origin of the investment. So if you build all those pieces up, now you have a performing asset. That's basically it.
And Heather, what is the crowdfunding tools? What are some unique, maybe, types of opportunities that can be created through those tools that just wouldn't happen without crowdfunding approach?
So if you look at what crowdfunding has created from the capital raising perspective, from a sponsor's perspective, I mean, it has created access into alternative sources of additional funding. So right now, cash flow and capital is being injected fairly easily. There's a lot of capital to put at play. So it's actually to the favor of the sponsor. So they're more free to structure their offerings as they like. And so we're seeing a little bit of compression on the preferred returns. We're seeing, changes in deal structures. Instead of offering an equity participation out to investors, they're changing it to more of a mezzanine or a debt structure. So we're seeing that. But for investors, I mean, it's creating this amazing access point into new investment opportunities that you just never had access, you never had the ability, never had the control. You could not pick and choose, select without the help of a financial advisor. You just couldn't invest in these types of opportunities. And it's not just on my platform. There's about 150 different platforms alone in the US that are capitalizing on this new opportunity, that are creating these access points, whether it be, tapping into cash flow for debt, for equity, for single family homes, for multifamily, for retail. I mean, you can get as creative as you like. There are really no rules or restrictions as to what you can offer to the marketplace and what you can invest in. As it relates to the structure of the security. There's obviously, anybody SEC or FINRA in the room, there's obviously rules associated with raising capital and filing the proper paperwork. We are very compliant focused at EarlyShares and property.com.
All right, that's really interesting. So it almost sounds like it's creating, because of the availability of capital, is creating some competition around deals. Is that what you find? I hear you saying that through crowdfunding, that for the sponsor, the developer, or the purchaser that it's actually becoming more favorable to them than maybe it would be if they had to go through a syndication.
Yeah, it's also more cost effective, right?
Yeah.
No longer going through a traditional investment broker or banker, so those savings are being passed along to the investors, and just it's faster. You know, deal term sheets are being issued in a couple of weeks. Deals are getting funded in hours. I mean, there's a lot of power in that, and it's all being facilitated by technology.
All right, so last question is a round robin question, so we'll go down the line. What hasn't been invented yet? So what's the thing that's going to, what's the next transformational thing if you were the Thomas Edison of real estate today? What would be the thing that you would be working on right now to release next year, Stephen?
That's a great question. I would say, you know, and I'm actually going to steal this from somebody that's in our crowd, Duke Long here. He loves to talk about the blockchain and blockchain technology. I think that, you know, I think there are companies who are obviously working on it, but I think that that's the next tool that, you know, municipalities, governments, whether it be in the United States, you have a lot of countries that just have no organization of their land titles and you know, who owns what historically. So people adopting this blockchain technology, which is really just keeping track of who owns what and what got transacted. And I think that, you know, as we start implementing that again, even in the U.S. across cities and towns, it's going to be beneficial for everybody. It's going to be really exciting.
Fantastic. Duke, you need to stop talking so much. So Heather, what would be the thing that you would be working on right now to release next year? Not can't be crowdfunding.
Okay, no. But if you take the same sort of participants and the same methodology, you can apply it to different transactions at all different levels. But to change the subject a little bit, I was just meeting with a potential client this morning who does deals in Austin, Houston, and Dallas, and he's a developer. And he was telling me that in Houston it takes him 4 weeks to get his permitting and platting and everything approved. In Dallas it takes him 6 months. I don't understand that. I mean, I'm not a developer, I'm not in construction, that's not my expertise, but I don't understand why the disparities are so big and why there isn't more efficiency.
Is anyone from the city of Dallas here? Anyone? Nobody's going to own up to that? Okay. All right. John, what would you be working on?
Well, I guess the question is, who here pays $7,000 per license per head for Argus? That piece of the business needs to get basically tackled at some point. Anyone who's used Argus Enterprise, who's maybe used Dyna from the good old days, or the old Argus DCF, you see an 80% reduction in capability, and yet you're paying 5 times more. And you're looking at technology that looks like it was done 15 years ago. So I think that's something needs to be done there.
Wes, Ascendix has been around a long time. If you were just digging your hands in today, what would you be working on?
So for the longest time, we were just house builders. We built applications, and now we've recently just got into data services and moving, as Javier said earlier in the pitch, moving the furniture into the house. And we've seen that confluence of this really well-designed architectural commercial real estate house with now data, property, listing, availability data is really adding a lot of value. And so for us, what we're hoping for down the road is what we'll call predictive data services, where somebody might be at a property and or maybe a company record, have a property address there, and by just simply having that property address, bounce out to this data service and then bring back a rent roll there of other prospective tenants that they might want to do business with. And so it's all about predictive data services and almost suggesting data to the end user to make that even more valuable.
Fantastic.
I want to add in one more.
Oh, yeah.
I think we've heard this, and again, we've done now 5 or 6 conferences across the country, and one thing that we've heard from the largest companies that are out there that are in charge of implementing and working with these technologies is a centralized hub. If you guys are familiar with Google Apps has a marketplace, or any kind of your smartphone that has an app marketplace, where it's a centralized place where you can go and find all of these solutions and you can download them to your phone. right? I think it's just a centralized place that, again, you can go and find all these things and use it. I think that that's going to be a really important thing that somebody will tackle and start working with everybody. That will just make it easier for all of you.
You're the perfect person to do that.
Well, yeah, let's talk.
Steve, I have something to say on that. I thought this would have happened probably 5 years ago when I started, but you still had the app silo and the desktop silo. And if anyone's experienced Windows 10, they have unified those two. So you're not going to have the phone app. You're not going to have the other. In fact, Windows 10, kind of a pitch to Microsoft, our partner, but Windows 10, this phone that will be coming out, the same operating system that loads on your desktop loads on the phone, and you just plug it in any periphery, and it's indifferent. Indifferent. So that is the future.
Agreed.
Yeah, and then you've got the iPad Pro that just came out with a lot of drafting tools, and it's really made for designers. I'll be really interested in seeing what that does for architectural industry, and also just you've just got a giant MacBook tablet to carry around. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what that'll do too. All right, well, thanks guys. Yeah.
Thank you.